Hi, my name is Deanna Reinhardt. I have a question for you. Is your child safe on their school campus? If you're like me, you probably answered yes. You may be as shocked as I was to discover that although our children appear to be safe, they're actually not. Our schools have done an excellent job of protecting our children, but there's a danger so great that even they have not been able to stop it. Peer pressure and related youth issues fuel the top 3 leading causes of death among our youth. In fact, 1 in 6 of our high school students made a suicide plan last year alone, and nearly 2 million of them attempted it. This issue is so out of control that homicide and suicide are now the 2nd and 3rd leading causes of death among our youth, and the 4th leading cause of death for our children ages 10 to 14 years old. That's 1 out of every 4 precious children on our elementary school playgrounds today that will either attempt or seriously consider suicide within a few short years. These statistics are staggering. How do you know for sure that your child would not be among them? To help you wrap your head around the magnitude of these numbers, that's the same as if every single school-aged child in the states of Washington, Oregon, and Idaho attempted to take their lives, each and every year. Most of us are completely unaware of the issues that our children are facing on a daily basis. We protect our children from everything imaginable, yet every day we send them out the door alone and unprepared to overcome the most destructive force they'll ever face: peer pressure. As long as peer pressure is allowed to operate unharnessed, our children are in danger. I've spent the last 30 years working with tens of thousands of students to find ways to protect them from critical youth issues and peer pressure. You see, my high school had a suicide epidemic, so I've experienced these tragic losses firsthand. I knew these kids. They were my childhood friends. I also experienced the ugly force of peer pressure with each of my 4 children, as I'm sure you have as well. Even though I prepared them as much as possible, they still had to attend schools with unhealthy campus cultures, cliques, and out-of-control youth issues. It affected each of my children differently, but my second child was hit especially hard after I moved to a new school that was not very receptive of new students. As a mom, it ripped me up to see my daughter cry day after day. She'd pull a giant hooded sweatshirt over her head so no one could see her tears. She was trying to cope, but after this continued for more than 2 years, I had to find something to help her. I took a leap of faith and reopened a performing arts program I had started before the move. I had observed dramatic changes in the children who had participated in it. I'd even seen whole schools transformed. I remembered how many parents insisted that the program had changed their child's life, so I hoped that somehow it could help my daughter now. I watched in amazement as her heart began to heal right before my eyes. She began to dream again. The tears were replaced with laughter, and we watched her not only regain her footing, but go on to be an outspoken leader and advocate for other kids. I was amazed. The program that worked for my daughter is called Championeers, and as the creator, I knew how powerful it was in the lives of other children. But once I saw its magic go to work in my own daughter under these circumstances, I realized that I needed to get these tools into the hands of every parent possible so you can help your own children in your own home. I don't want your child to suffer under the senselessness of peer pressure. So today, I'm giving you the crown jewel of my life's work. This is invaluable information, as is the life of your child. I've charged thousands of dollars in the past for children to be in my programs, but there are just some things we can't put a price tag on, and our children are one of them. This is my free gift to you. So please take the time to download the follow-along PDF on this page and turn off all other distractions so you can get the most out of this information. My gift to you are the 7 essential elements to protect your children from peer pressure. These are the foundational principles behind the Championeers program and my success in working with youth. All I ask is that you use these tools to help protect your children. It may even save their lives. The second thing I ask is if you'll help me get this information into the hands of every parent and educator you can. If you saw a group of students drowning, you'd do everything in your power to help save them. Yet in every high school classroom, there are as many as 5 to 6 students who have considered death over the pain of living. They are drowning in a sea of emotional despair, and no one even knows. Help me pass out these life preservers. Our kids are literally dying from broken hearts. But if we work together, we can save them. This is the first of a set of 3 videos on how to protect your children from peer pressure. In each video, I give you some valuable insights into peer pressure and some simple steps you can do at home. Let me just say at this point that this information is for both moms and dads. Since I'm a mom, you may notice that I talk in mom language and at times direct my comments to moms. Dads, you are equally, if not even more important in this process. So please keep in mind that this information and call to action is to every parent. So, let's jump right into today's powerful insights. This video is called, Are My Children Safe at School? 7 Things You Can Do at Home to Protect Your Children. What exactly is peer pressure, and why is it so difficult for our children to withstand? Peer pressure is a basic survival instinct known as herding or modeling. It is present in all social environments, beginning within our own families when we're born. It takes on a more pure element once we enter elementary school, and it intensifies through middle school, high school, and college. All you have to do is walk on the playground, and within a few minutes, you can identify the social status of almost every child. Already, the forces of peer pressure are well in motion, even at these young ages. This is the direct result of our survival instinct. What's happening is that our brain is a crazy problem-solving machine. Its job is to keep you safe and alive. To do this, your brain needs a little information. Well, a lot of information. In fact, it handles about 400 billion bits of information per second. To do its job, it needs certain answers to certain key questions. These questions serve as a blueprint to our master operating system, so it knows what to do and how to do it. If the brain does not have these questions answered, it doesn't know what to do. We're literally lost without a map. The problem is that most of us don't even know that we have these questions. Meanwhile, our brain is seeking answers any way it can get them in order to make sense out of our world. To find these answers, we look to our group of peers to see what they're doing. After all, if they're successful and we do what they're doing, we'll be successful too. We call this modeling. And as I mentioned earlier, it's actually a survival instinct. In antiquity, and even up into modern times, modeling used to only take place within a safe and trusted group of intimately connected friends and family that relied on each other for survival. Nowadays, modeling happens primarily on our school campuses. When modeling takes place within an environment where a child does not feel accepted or protected from within that group, it morphs into a survival of the fittest competition that we call peer pressure. Instead of empowering our children to model success, it pressures them to conform to the status quo. Since most of this takes place on an instinctual, subconscious level, we can see and feel the effects of peer pressure, but don't understand the greater survival forces that are behind it. What are these critical questions that children are trying to answer? They contain the who, what, when, where, why, and how of our lives. These questions are subconscious, and most people don't even realize they have them, but the answers form our own unique operating system. We don't need to know the answers when we're little because we have caregivers making decisions for us. But as we begin to make our own life choices, we default to modeling after our peers, for the good and the bad. This is why youth are so influenced by their friends. Now, we can't answer these questions for our children, but we can protect them from peer pressure by helping them find their own answers outside of their peer group. By simply tweaking the way we do a few things around our own home, we can create a culture that provides answers for all of our children's critical questions. Each answer becomes a building block in their emotional fortress. The more building blocks, the more protected they are from peer pressure. I call this the rope strategy, Reinhardt's hierarchy of peer empowerment. When children are empowered, they are not likely to bend under peer pressure. Our first building block in the rope strategy creates a culture of vision. Vision helps to answer the question, who am I? This building block teaches children how to believe in themselves. We create this culture in our homes by using words of affirmation. Just by pointing out your child's strengths and complimenting their efforts, we create a desire within them to want to do even better. That desire leads to vision for how to do it better. Children need the ability to dream because these dreams direct their lives. When we teach children how to dream, we're actually teaching them how to create solutions. There's no limitation to what children can do if they learn to dream. So your action item for this tool is to affirm your children every day. Pour it on them. Tell them that you believe in them. Tell them how wonderful they are. Shower them with praise. Be their cheerleader. Remind them that they can do anything. This tool diffuses peer pressure through self-esteem because children who like themselves are far less likely to be pressured into being like someone else. The second building block in the ROPE strategy is a culture of honor. This answers the question, who are we? By teaching children how to value others, you're actually teaching them how to value themselves. This disarms peer pressure because children who feel valued and express value for others don't feel a need to prove themselves. The pressure to fit in loses its power over them. Your action item is to set a standard of honor starting in your own home. I'm just going to tell you that siblings are the first to push each other's buttons, but you already know this. As you pour out affirmations on your children, they learn how it feels to receive compliments as well as how to give them. This will take some time, but as you draw new boundaries, you'll see the atmosphere of your home change from disrespect to respectful, and from harshness to kindness. Did I mention this can take some time with siblings? This single action is so transforming that I dedicated an entire video on how to do this with your family nights. I even give you my all-time best mommy tricks. They really work. They'll help you out. Kids are the masters of put-downs, but when you as the parent step in and say, we don't do that here. We only say nice things. It actually establishes an expectation and a boundary. I encourage you not to focus on how to stop the harsh words as much as how to reward the kind words. When my kids were growing up, I gave awesome awards. When a child reported one of their siblings doing a kind act or saying a kind word to them, both children received a Skittle, one for their kindness, the other for appreciating it. It's amazing how many nice things children can do when they get candy for it. Oh, I know it was mostly fake when we first started this, but in time, those acts of kindness became natural responses. The third building block in the ROPE strategy is a culture of purpose. This answers the question, where am I going? No one knows the life course of their child, but neither are they tossed around in the wind and just end up at a final destination. It's our job to prepare them to jump when opportunity presents itself. This diffuses peer pressure because children who develop their interests and their talents gain a stronger sense of purpose and appreciation for their unique identity and are far less affected by conformity. Here's your action item. The best way to create a culture of purpose in your home is to nurture talents and interests. We do this through lessons and venues of exploration. Watch what kinds of things your children enjoy. Then put them in lessons so they can master their interests. Take lessons yourself or find a Mommy and Me class. Take your children on dates to live theater productions. Go to the science museum. Go camping and backpacking. Go to the zoo. Explore the world together. I also encourage you to establish a time to read to your children. They love the attention that they get from you during story time. Read lots of books, not just children's stories, but information books and biographies of people who made great contributions. These influences will create an atmosphere in your home that celebrates learning and encourages exploration of new ideas. The fourth building block in the ROPE strategy is a culture of connection. This answers the question, where am I going? Belonging is one of the greatest psychological needs of humans, superseding almost all other needs. It is the rocket fuel behind peer pressure, causing children to do almost anything to fit in. Belonging diffuses peer pressure because children who are able to connect with small interest groups are less likely to follow the crowd. These interest groups not only provide community, but also provide group goals that satisfy the immediate question of, where am I going right now? Your action item is to find a small group for your child to participate in. This can be a sports team, 4-H, children's church, youth group, science club, or performing arts groups. Connections with peers are very important, but the most important connections that need to be made are those in your very own family. It's so easy to all live in a house together but not actually connect with each other. The best tool I know to do this is family night. I love family night. When your children are little, every night can be family night. But as your children get bigger, you'll find that schedules and activities tend to fight against your family structure. I love extracurricular activities, and as I just mentioned, it's important that your children have connection points. But don't get me going on my soapbox about out-of-control schedules. Everything should be in moderation and must be scheduled to enhance your family life, not stress it out. Family night is so important that I've dedicated the 3rd video to this subject, so watch for its link in your email. The 5th building block in the ROPE strategy is a culture of leadership. This answers the question, how do I get there? Leadership provides ownership, significance, and self-governance. It's a skill every child must learn. Although there are obvious natural leaders, every child must learn to be responsible for themselves. This diffuses peer pressure because students who are confident in their own abilities are far more likely to empower others than get lost in the crowd. Your action item is to establish a culture of leadership in your home by giving your children chores and special responsibilities. Chores require your children to be responsible for personal tasks. They also teach them how to care for others. Don't just give your children chores, however. If you'll do chores with them, this will reinforce almost all of the empowerment tools in the ROPE strategy. In addition to personal chores, choose a special responsibility for each child each week that is truly special. Perhaps this is the pillow kiss job. That's placing a candy kiss on each person's pillow after they've made their bed. Maybe they are the table setter for a fancy meal and they get to help light the special candles with you. Making it special makes it fun. I go into more detail on this in the 3rd video. I also encourage some form of community service that you can do with your children, even if it's just once a year. Serve in a food line, volunteer at school or church, be part of a fundraiser or relief shelter. Rake your neighbor's leaves or make cookies for their teachers. Service transforms your children from receivers to givers. The 6th building block in the ROPE strategy is a culture of innovation. This answers the question, do I have what it takes? This is one of the most emotionally volatile cultures of all. We can't pretend this question does not exist, so we must satisfy it. We do this through a culture of innovation that teaches tenacity, determination, and the celebration of the process. Every great inventor knows that what some may deem as failures are actually stepping stones in the journey of success. Only when there is safety in failing will our children try. A culture of innovation diffuses peer pressure because children who learn to deal with failures, injustices, and disappointments are far more likely to stay their course than follow another's. The key to bringing a culture of innovation into your home is that you never allow your children to quit. I used to own a music conservatory that had over 600 sessions per week. I had one rule. No one was allowed to quit. Oh, they could choose to go on vacation at the end of each term, but they were not allowed to quit mid-session. Why? So they would not develop the mentality that they could just give up when things got hard or they got bored. Your action item is to establish a can-do mindset by insisting your children complete every task, even if you have to do it with them, and you often will. The 7th building block in the ROPE strategy is a culture of heroism. This answers the question, am I good enough? This sounds similar to the 6th building block, but they are actually quite different. Do I have what it takes is based on what I do. Am I good enough is based on who I am. If we take the position that our children are superheroes because of who they are, then what they do becomes an overflow of their identity. This diffuses peer pressure because children who develop a clear understanding of their intrinsic worth develop an intrinsic compass that is not easily compromised. Peer pressure has little ability to persuade them to participate in activities that do not align with their compass of truth. When children make mistakes, and they will, they are more likely to distinguish a bad choice from being a bad person. You can help your children develop intrinsic worth by expressing unconditional approval that is not earned or deserved or based on performance. One way to do this is again with your words. For example, instead of saying, "You messed up, you always do it wrong," you might consider something like this. "This is inconsistent with who you are. Next time, stop, think it through. You'll get the hang of it." The goal is to always confirm who your child is, not what he isn't. When you establish these 7 cultural elements in your home, you help your children answer the 7 critical questions that protect them from peer pressure. I can't encourage you enough of the vital importance you play in your child's life. When you implement these 7 elements, you help your children build an emotional fortress that will protect them all their life. You can do this all on your own, but I understand how crazy busy you are. If you feel like it's too much or you just can't do one more thing, I'll help you. We'll do it together, step by step, for the sake of your kids. Since I've done this with my own children and with thousands of others, I've already put together resources that make it easy and fun. I've also created a mommy school that goes with the resources so I can teach you how to teach your children. If you'll let me, I'll hold your hand through this entire process and be your cheerleader. You don't have to do it alone. I'll tell you more about these resources soon. Meanwhile, I don't want you to overload with too much information, but I have a couple more tools I want to get to you. In a couple days, I'll send you the next video, how to motivate your children to make great choices and have them think it's their idea. We can give our children the 7 essentials, but they can't apply them unless we reteach them how to think. I'll show you how easy it is with my magic secret sauce. Don't forget to pass this information on to your friends. Every child deserves to be peer pressure proof. That can only happen if we each do our part to put this information in the hands of every parent we know. Post this link on your Facebook, send it out in an email, but please pass it along. It may save the life of a child you know. I'll see you in a couple days.